Hello everyone. Today our topic is about basics on JSON objects. So JSON means JavaScript object notation. So J means Java, S means script, O means object, N means notation. So this is built on key value pairs and ordered list array. So it is built on key value pairs means if you see this is one of the JSON object. So starting and ending it is with flower bracket and inside that you can see key value pairs. So this is one key value pair and this is one key value pair and this is one key value pair. So that is this one built on key value pairs and ordered lists array. So if you see multi JSON, so it will start and ending with square bracket. So if I see here this one, so this is JSON list. So starting and ending, it is with square bracket. And inside that we have JSON objects. So this is one JSON object and this is one JSON object. So that is built on key value pairs and ordered lists. So its basic structures are objects. So one is object. So object means, so starting and ending with this one flower bracket. You can see this one starting and ending with flower bracket and with key value pairs. So key, so colon value pairs. So in this key, this is the key and this is value. So this is key value pair. And generally the key will be column name and value will be the value related to this particular column. So that is objects. So objects means from this flower bracket to flower bracket, we can call as one object. So you can simply call as object or you can call as JSON object. So next is arrays. So arrays means so starting and ending with square bracket and inside that is each JSON object is separated with comma. If you see here, so array as we saw here just now example array. So this one, so starting and ending with square bracket and inside that between each JSON object, this is one JSON object and this is one JSON object, it is separated by comma. Okay, so that is this one. So arrays inside that with comma separated values. And second one is, third one is strings, numbers, booleans, null, nested objects, arrays. So this is the basic structure about JSON. So strings means this one. So this is string value. So this is key and the value is string. So here it is string and here you can see integer and here you can see null. And so booleans also you can see some places. So if I see some places, this is integer and this is float value and this also float value and this is scientific number and this is boolean value and this is string value. Okay, and this is nested case. Okay, so starting and ending is flower bracket and inside that we have key value pair and again one of the key. So this is key and that value is again JSON object. So this is top level JSON and inside that we have one more sub JSON. So this will call as nested JSON objects. So that is this one, nested objects and arrays. Okay, so this is the basic structure about JSON file. So whatever the JSON file you see, so you will be having maximum only this, it is created with this kind of basic structure. So one is objects, arrays, strings, numbers, booleans, null, nested objects, arrays. Okay. So this is about basics of JSON. So next we'll see one by one. So what is a JSON object? So if you see starting and ending, it is flower bracket, and inside that you can see key value pairs. So this is one key value pair and this is one key value pair. So all the keys, always keys will be double quoted. See here, this is key, it is double quoted, and this also one of the key, it is double quoted, and this is one of the key double quoted, and these values can be any of the thing, any of the thing like this one, either string, this is integer, this is null. So, and this can be Boolean also. Okay, so like this it will be. The example above defines an object with three properties. So three properties means columns. So you can say these are the columns. So that is name, age, and car. So terminology will call as properties. And each property, that means this each property has a value. So value we can call as this one. This is one value, this related to this property, and this value related to this property, and this value related to this property. So this overall inside JSON object key value pairs, we can uh, refer like this naming convention. So next in this first one, we are going to see about JSON strings. So here JSON strings. So strings in JSON must be written in double quotes. Suppose if you see here, this is one of the example JSON object. So here, this is one of the JSON object. It has single key value pair. So whatever this value is there, so if it is string means, so strings in JSON must be written in double quote. Okay, so only when you given double quote, then only it is valid JSON format. Suppose instead of double quote, if you give single quote, then it is not valid JSON format. Then it will consider as corrupt record or bad record. So this is considered as clean JSON object since it is since value is double quoted. Value is double quoted. Value is double quoted. So in case, suppose if you write with single quote, so here what I'm doing, instead of double quote, I'm doing single quote. So now this is not clean JSON. So this is correct record. This will call as correct record. And why it is correct record? Since value is single quoted. Okay, so whenever you try to read this kind of JSON files in PySpark, so this it will consider as corrected record. Okay, so this is about the JSON string. So next, JSON strings can contain the following backslash or escaped characters. So this is a double quote. Before double quote, we have backslash. So backslash with double quote. And this is backslash. And this is forward slash and backspace, form feed, new line, carriage return, tab, trailed by 4 hex digits. So these are all the formats are allowed for JSON strings. So these are all valid JSON formats. So next, JSON numbers. So numbers in JSON must be an integer or floating value. Suppose this is my one of my JSON object. So in this value is this. So this value can be, if it is number, if the value is number, then it should be either integer or floating point. So 30 is our integer value. And similar way here, I have one more JSON object. So here I have two key value pairs. So in first value, I have integer, and in second value, I have float value. So since 6.99 is there, that is float value. So next, if you see this one, so here my value is string, and here this value is integer. And similar way, so what I will do, this I will, this also fine floating, and this also fine. Okay, floating. And this, if you see here, this value, this is one floating value, and this is one floating value, and this floating value can be with scientific number also. So this scientific number also allowed. So these are all the formats allowed in case of JSON numbers. See, represented in base 10 with no surface leading zeros. So that means example like this. So include digits between 0 to 9. So whenever you mention the integer values, that should be, the digits should be between 0 and 9. And it can be negative number also, like example -10. And it can be fraction also, like example 0.5. And it can also have an exponent of 10. So here 6 is there, E6. So this can be E10. E10 or any of the number, E1, 2, 3, 10, any of the thing. And it should be prefixed by either small e or capital E with a plus or minus sign to indicate positive or negative exponential. So octal or hexadecimal formats are not supported. So cannot have a value of NaN, not a number, or infinity. Okay. So these are all the valid formats allowed while generating the JSON for integer values. Or you can say numbers, simply you can say numbers. So only whatever here mentioned, only these are all the things are valid JSON numbers. And here, since they mentioned, no, it can be negative number. So for example, -10. So for that, so example -10. So here you can see the value is negative number. So it can be either positive or it can be either negative. And at the same time, either it can be double, or you can say double or float number. So like this fraction. And it can be also of exponent. See here 1.0. Either it can be small e or capital E. So here I given E, and if you see previous case, it is small e. And this exponent, it can be of any number 1 to 10. And it always recommended to write plus or minus sign. So either it can be positive or negative to identify this one. So mainly for negative number, it always recommended to use. For positive number, so even this is fine without uh, mentioning plus symbol, that is fine. But always good to mention plus symbol here, either plus or minus symbol. So this is about the JSON numbers. Next, about the JSON objects. So JSON objects means an unordered set of name or value pairs inserted between curly braces. So JSON object means it will start and ending with curly braces. See here, this is one of the JSON object. This will call as JSON object. So starting and ending, it is with curly braces, and and it is with name or value pair. So this is name and this is value pair, or you can say key value pair. So this is one key value pair, this is one key value pair, this is one key value pair. And what is this unordered set is? So this is our sample means actual JSON object. So this is first visibility is there, then popularity is there, then ID is. Suppose this particular JSON, if you try to read in PySpark, there is no guarantee that it will come in same order, like visibility first, for popularity second, ID third. So there is no guarantee means it will come in any order. Maybe it will come ID as first, then second visibility come, then third popularity come. So that is this one, unordered set. So it is like Python, we have set and dictionary, right? So there also unordered set. So same thing here also. Next, an object can contain zero or more name or value pairs. So this is one JSON object. In this JSON object, it can be zero or more name or key value pairs. So that means for first case, zero means it can be simply like this. So that means inside that we have zero key value pairs. So this can be either like this, or it can be with single JSON object. Maybe you can consider like this. So either this or this. So single JSON object means inside JSON object, it can be any number of pairs. Okay, so this is about zero or, so zero means this one. And so otherwise I will write here. So this is zero, zero key value pair. And this is single, this is single, this is single key value pair. And third one is, this one is multiple key value pair. So multiple key value pairs means inside the JSON object, we have multiple key value pairs. That means more than one key value pair. So either whenever you have multiple key value pairs, so either you can write in single line, or you can write like this, line by line. So if you write like this, then we'll call this one as single line JSON. So whenever you write like this, line by line, then we'll call as multi-line JSON. Multi-line JSON. So this is the meaning of object can contain zero or more name or value pairs. So multiple name or value pairs are separated by commas. If you see here single key is there. So here we don't have any problem. If you see here, we have multiple key value pairs. So this is one key value pair, and this is one key value pair. So each key value pair, it is separated by comma. Whether you write in single line JSON or multi-line JSON, so each key value pair, it is separated by commas. So that is this one, separated by comma. And data stored as key value pairs, like this one. So this is one key value pair, and this is one key value pair. Next, values in JSON can be objects. So that means if you see here, this is one JSON object. Why? starting and ending it is curly braces, and inside that we have key value pairs. So this is one key and this is one value. So here this is key and value, here value is simply string and here it is integer. But here starting and ending it is curly braces and this is the key. But if you see value, again there is one JSON object. So that is this one. Values in JSON can be objects. So this is key and this is whole thing is the value. So this value can be either string, integer, or it can be object. Object means JSON object. And this object can be either with a single key value pair or multiple key value pairs. So objects as values in JSON must follow the JSON syntax. So that means this is value. The value is JSON object, and this JSON object must follow the JSON syntax. So that means the keys should be with the double quoted, and if you are doing string, string should be with the double quoted, and between each key value pair, it should be separated with comma. And here, this is the key. It is with the double quote. Since it is number, so simply number. And since here it is string, so it is double quoted. So whatever you write, JSON object inside JSON object as the value, it should follow the JSON syntax. So next, nested objects. So nested objects means, so starting and ending, it is curly braces. And as per JSON object, inside we will be having key value pairs. So my first key value pair is, so this is key, the value is number, and in second, my value is string, and for third key, my value is again JSON object. So whenever you have JSON object as value, then we'll call as nested JSON object. So next is JSON arrays. So values in JSON can be arrays. So an ordered collection of values. So that means whenever you do JSON object, if you see here, whenever you do JSON object means curly braces, and it is equivalent to our Python set or dictionary. So there also the order is not guaranteed. That means unordered set. But in case of list, in case of arrays, it is ordered collection of values. So begins with starting and ending with square bracket, and inside that we had to write our JSON object. So this is left bracket and ends with right bracket, and its values are separated by comma. So for example, this is first example. This is my one of my JSON object, and inside JSON object, this is my key and my value is array. So starting and ending, it is square bracket, and inside that I have values. So here I have only values. So array always allows values. But in case of JSON object, if you see here, this is my key and here value is JSON object. Here value is JSON object. Since it is JSON object, here we can write key value pairs array. But in case of array, values, whenever you mention values as array, it should be have only values, either string or integer. But in case of JSON object, it will be having key value pairs. So that is the difference. Whenever you define value whenever you define value as JSON object, it looks like this. And whenever you define value as array, it looks like this. And similar way, this is for string values. In arrays, here it is defined only string values. And here inside array, so this is key and this is value. So this value is array now. And this array, here we have integer values, numbers. So this is one example. So array, uh, keeping array as values. So this is array as values, but this is JSON array. So JSON array is different and value as array is different. So JSON array means starting and ending, it will be square bracket. And inside that we'll be having JSON objects. So JSON objects separated by commas. And again, each JSON object should follow as per our JSON structure. Okay, so this is about JSON arrays. And one more. So this is JSON object, and this is my key, and value is my array. So here we inside array for numbers, it is defined like this, only simple numbers. But if you want to define numbers as a strings, then you can define like this with the double quotes. Either you can do like this or IDs, inside IDs array. So again, this array starting and ending with square bracket. And here I'm defining again with as JSON objects. So this is one JSON object with a single key value pair. And this is one JSON object with single key value pair. And this is one JSON object with single key value pair. So this is about JSON arrays. So JSON arrays, how to define as values or how to define as JSON array. So next is JSON booleans. So the values in JSON can be either true or false. So whenever you're defining boolean values, the values will be either true or false. So this is my one of my JSON object. Inside this I have single key value and my value is true. So here boolean operation is true. And here I have a JSON object. It has two key value pairs, and in my first value is true, second value is false. So Boolean values, either it can be true or false, only this much. Next, JSON null. So values in JSON can be null. So when there is no value to assign to a key, it can be treated as null. So null value should not be surrounded by any quotes. Suppose here I have single JSON object. So this is my key and this is my value. So whenever value, we don't have any value, then we need to simply mention null. So it should not be surrounded with either single quote or double quote. Okay, so next example is, so this is JSON object. Here I have multiple key value pairs. So this is Boolean operation and this value is null and this is integer. Okay, so this is about our JSON structure and how many uh, basic structure are there. So one by one we saw in detail. So how we need to define JSON objects, each and every one. Next, we'll go for data types. So what are the data types available in JSON? So data types, JSON supports mainly 6 core data types categorized into primitives. So simple values. primitives and complex structures. So first one is primitive data types and second one is complex data types. So under primitive data types, it comes string. So string means textual data enclosed in double quotes. So, so like this. So this is key and value is this one. Bengaluru, it is with double quoted. So this will call as string. And next one is number. So double precision floating point numbers. So this can be either integers or decimals. And this should be without quotes. Suppose this value here it is decimal. So it can be either integer or decimal, but it should not with quotes. And next one is Boolean. So logical values true or false, and it is unquoted. And if you see this value false is there. So that means whenever you define JSON structure, so whenever it reads the Spark, since here string value it is double quoted, it recognizes as string, and whenever it finds this number, it data types detects as number like either integer or float value, and whenever it finds true or false, it recognizes as boolean, and whenever you have represents an empty or intentionally absent value that is null, then it is recognized as null. So this is primitive data types. Next is complex data types. In complex data types, one is object and second one is array. So we already saw what is object. So it is a collection of unordered key value pairs. So these key value pairs wrapped in curly braces, this one. And the keys must be strings always. So that means, yeah, if you see one example, so here, these are the keys. So these keys always it will be surrounded with double quotes. So that is this one. So keys must be strings and separated by commas. So here between each key value pair, it is separated by comma. And the example is like this. So this is key, so user, and it is surrounded by double quotes. And inside that, this is value. So value is again JSON object. Okay, so this is about JSON object. Array, array means an ordered, comma separated list of values wrapped in square brackets. So that means this is, if we see one JSON array, this one. So either here, if you see value, so value as JSON array. So that means here we have only values, so which are separated by commas. So here and ordered, since it is array, so it will follow the order. It is not like object. So object follows unordered, but this array follows ordered. So an ordered comma separated list of values. So that means this is one value and this is one value. So these values are between comma separated. Okay, so comma separated values and wrapped in square brackets. So that means, so starting and ending, it is with a square bracket. So, and array contains, array items can be any valid JSON type. So that means if you see inside, here we have only strings. So this can be either, this array can be either only strings or only integers or only Boolean values or only float values or only date values like that. So JSON values cannot be one of the following data types. So JSON values, we should not have like function or date or undefined. So JSON values should follow only these kind of data types, either primitive data types or complex data types. Okay, so next JSON supports the following data types. So overall, it supports first one is the string. So this is string double quoted. Next number, if you see here, number can be either integer or float value. And next boolean, boolean is either true or false. Next null means the value can be null. And object means the value is, this is object, starting and ending with curly braces, and inside that we have key value pairs. And array, so if you see this value, starting and ending is square bracket, and inside that we have values, so these values are separated by commas. So next we'll see some example JSON containing all data types. So starting and ending, it is curly braces. So if we have curly braces, then we'll call as JSON object. And inside JSON object, this is our first key value pair. So in first key value pair, we have string. So this data type is string. And next key value pair, we have 30. This is integer. And next key value pair, we have float value. And next we have boolean, null. And for this key, we have again JSON object. So this is JSON object, and this value is R. So here it covered all these data types here. So first one is a string. So these two are numbers, either integer or float. Next one is boolean. Next one is boolean. Next is null. This is null. So next is object. So this is object, and last one is array. Okay. So next, mapping to PySpark data types. So if your JSON has a string, if your JSON has string value like this, then PySpark, it will detect as string type. And if you have number integer, suppose this one integer value, then it will detect as either integer type or long type. So it depends on number, whether it is a single or double digit number or multi-long number. If it is long number, it will detect as long type. So next one is number decimal. So decimal, it will detect either as double or decimal type. So next, if you have like this boolean, for boolean, it will detect as boolean type. And for null, so nullable field. And for object, this one, this object, it will detect as struct type. So in PySpark, we have struct type. So this struct type will mainly define whenever you explicitly define the schema. And next one is array. So array means this one. So it will detect as array type. So these are all the JSON data types. We'll call JSON data types like this: string, number, boolean, null, object, array. In PySpark, we'll call this. So whenever you read this particular JSON file, in PySpark, and if you try to print your schema, so your data types will be like this. And for example, as I told this one, struct type. So this is struct type, and inside that struct fields are there. So first one, name. So here name is there. Suppose if I want to read this particular JSON file, I want to explicitly define the schema. So how I will define is, so this is one field. So this is one field. So first is the key, that is name. For name, this is the name. And what is this data type? String. So this is string. So here I'm defining as string type. Next is age. For age, what is there? Number is there. So for that age, I'll define as integer type. See here, same, like this. So next is salary. So salary is float type is there. So for here salary, I will mention as double type. And next for is employee. So here I have true. So is employee I'll define as Boolean type. So next manager, it is null. For null, so this is manager. For null, I'll define as string type. Next, what will have address? So here address, what is that? We have object. So here we have object. So for that, for address, as we see here, for object, what we'll define? Struct type. So here again, I started struct type, and inside that I have two fields. That means if you see in this JSON object, I have two key value pairs. So one is city, second one is state. So both are string type. If you see here, city, string type, and state, string type. And next one, skills. So this is array. So if you come here, struct field skills, and this is array type. And inside array type, what are the values? So starting and ending is square bracket, and inside that we have values. So these values are strings. So in array, it can be of any type, either string, numbers, booleans, a double value, or it can be anything. But here what I have, string values. So in PySpark, we'll define as array type. Data type is array type, and inside that my values are string type. So like this, I will define my data types in PySpark. Okay, so this is about defining the data types. Next, JSON file patterns. So how to come to know which JSON file is which JSON format? So it is like whether it is single line JSON or multi-line JSON. So in this notebook, we'll see the different JSON file formats. So JSON files rely on two primary structural patterns. So that is one, JSON objects. So we know that JSON objects, it is starting and ending with curly braces, and inside that we'll be having key value pairs. And JSON arrays, so it is ordered lists and inside square brackets. So these two things we know that. So next, first one is set of objects. So set of objects means in set of objects, first one is single object JSON example. So single object means so starting and ending with curly braces, that we'll call as object. And single object means this particular JSON file, I have single object. Okay, so that is single object. Next, JSON lines. So JSON lines means if you see here, so here it is single JSON object, right? This single JSON object, each key value pair, it is separated in individual lines. So first key value pair in one line, second key value pair in second line. So line by line, it is a single object. But in case of JSON lines, how it will look is each JSON object will be in single line. See here, earlier each key value pair in one line, but here all the key value pairs inside this JSON object, it is continuously in single line. So this is one JSON object, and this is one JSON object, and this is one JSON object. So totally we have three lines. So that means three JSON objects we have. So that is JSON lines. So each JSON object, it will be in single line. So next one is concatenated JSON example. So concatenated means, so this is one JSON object, and this is one JSON object, and this is one JSON object. So concatenated means all three JSON objects, so sequentially. So this is about first one, set of objects. So this is set of objects. Next, we'll go for type 2, that is array of objects. So first one is set of objects. Second one is array of objects. So array means, so starting and ending, it will be square bracket. And inside that, we'll be having number of objects. So either it can be single object or multiple objects. So this is first JSON object, and this is second JSON object, and this is third JSON object, and each JSON object, it is separated with comma. So this is about array of objects. So next, nested entity pattern. So nested entity means, so starting and ending, it is square bracket, curly braces. So that is JSON object. So inside JSON object, this is one key value pair, and this is second key, and inside key, my value is array. So my value is array. So this can be either array or object. So whenever you have value as either array or JSON object, then we'll call as nested JSON. Okay, so these are all the different JSON formats are available. So next one is JSON rules. So this we can call as JSON thumb rules. So common mistakes to avoid is wrapping objects in square bracket and using quotes for numbers. So we already know that we should not use quotes for numbers, and using true. So true means, so true is surrounded by double quotes instead of true. So this is one mistake. So this is one mistake. So using quotes for numbers and wrapping objects. So objects means this one, JSON object. So this object wrapping in square bracket, wrapping in wrapping objects in square bracket. So these are all the common mistakes we need to avoid while writing the JSON file. So important points about nulls in JSON and PySpark. So whenever you create a JSON file, and if you feel you don't have any value for that, then simply use null. Simply mention null. So not like surrounded by double quotes. So next, Spark automatically converts this null into null. So whenever you define like this value, whenever you write value as null, then Spark automatically converts this null to this null. So here we'll see what is the correct and wrong way of uh, mentioning null values. So here, first one is wrong method. So this is my one of my JSON object. So inside JSON object, I have key. I have key, but value, I'm not mentioned anything. So this is the wrong way of doing JSON object. So what is correct way is, this is JSON object. So if you don't have any value, you simply mention null, or otherwise simply you mention with double quotes. So then it will consider as empty object. So either it can be null or it can be empty string. So this is correct way. And second wrong way is, suppose this key and in value mentioning double quotes is the wrong way. So we have to simply mention like null. And similar way for Boolean values, the wrong way is like providing double quotes. So what is correct way is simply mentioning the false. Suppose if your JSON file has like this, suppose one of the JSON object, if you have like this, then while reading in PySpark, it considered as corrupted record, or it can be corrupted JSON file. And similar way, this also one of the example for corrupted record. And this way of also considered as corrupted JSON format. Okay, so I already made one video on how to handle corrupted records in JSON file. So there I explained with one example, like between JSON object, between JSON object without comma. Suppose I have array of objects and I have JSON object and it is separated with comma. Suppose if I remove this comma, then it is considered as corrupted JSON file. So that example I explained there in that video. But on top of that, these are all the few more examples, uh, the way of corrupted records. And quick debug trick is, if you want to find whether if your JSON file has any corrupted records or it is not following as per JSON standard, how you can come to know is, while reading JSON file, you mention spark.read and you provide this option like option mode as permissive. So mode as permissive means even though if you have corrupt record, you are allowing to read the JSON file. And on top of that, you mention this part, but this is optional. If you don't mention also, it will create the file. That means create the column. So I'll show you one example for this, how it looks. So whenever you mention uh, mode as permissive, suppose as soon as you mention dot option mode as permissive, Spark by default, it creates this column. This is the Spark created default column name, that is underscore corrupt underscore record. So this actually, this, so this line, it is optional. So it is optional. If you don't mention also, by default, it will create with this column. So when we need to provide this option is, if you want to give your explicit name, you don't want like this name, you want to give if you, your own name, then only we'll use this option. So this I explained in my this video in PySpark basic playlist, how to handle corrupt records video. There I explained in detail about this option. But overall thing is, how we will come to know correct record is spark.read dot option mode as permissive dot JSON path. If you try to read, what will happen? If any corrupt record is there, it will add this one column extra like corrupt underscore record, and wherever it find corrupt record, so there it will dump here. Suppose this seventh JSON, seventh row, if it is has corrupt record, it will throw here, and in under actual columns, it will fill with null values. And if you see here, why it is corrupted record at third key value, see here, key is age, for value, nothing is provided as we discussed here, this one. So it is there like this. So that's why it is dumped under corrupt record. Okay, so if you run this query, you will get table output like this. So by looking this column, you will come to know how many correct records are there in your table. And on top of that, if you want to filter only the correct record, you can do filter and you can write this underscore correct record. So that is this column, correct underscore record column, and you can mention as is not null. So is not null means, so in this, whatever nulls are there, that is clean records. So not null means this one. So if you mention not null, that is this one. So it will show you only the corrected records. So that is quick debug trick. Next, invalid JSON syntax. So strict JSON rules is to ensure your JSON parses correctly across JavaScript and other languages. So we need to give only double quotes. So keys and strings values must use double quotes and there is no single quotes. So that means here, uh, maybe if I see here, all these keys, all these keys always it should be surrounded with double quotes, not single quotes, and no trailing commas. So that means the final item in an array or object cannot end with a. So a comma. So that means the final object. So here we should not give comma like this. If you mention comma like this, then it considered as corrupted record. So this is a trailing comma. So trailing is at the end. So that it considered as corrupt record. So no trailing commas are allowed either inside JSON array. What we saw is this is JSON object at the same time JSON array also. So array means so here. So this is array. So we have values. So this value and this value separated by comma, and it should not be at the end like comma. It should not be like this. Next, no comments. So JSON does not support like this double backslash or between backslash with stars. So this also I already created one video to show this example. Uh, so for this example is this one. If you see my JSON file, suppose if you mention like this, double backslash. So if you comment like this, then it is invalid comment. In JSON, in inside JSON object, we should not write any comments. If you mention like this, a double backslash, so it means it is invalid comment, that is correct block. So JSON comments, that is double backslash, this one are not allowed. So this corrupts the entire JSON array. If you mention like this, it will what it will do, it will corrupt the entire JSON array. So if you see here, so as soon as it reaches that point, so it stops here only and it throws the entire JSON array here. Not JSON array, entire JSON file, it will dump here. Okay, so that is this one. Next JSON rule is trailing comma. So this we already saw. So trailing comma, if you mention like this at the end comma, as I shown here. So under this particular column, underscore correct underscore record, it will throw all these values like this. So it created this column, right? Underscore correct underscore record. So all the corrupted value, it will dump here. So if you pass trailing comma means at the end. So either it can be JSON object or it can be array. Suppose array, inside array, I will pass some value, maybe key, maybe country, and at the end comma. So this is not allowed. So this will call as trailing commas. So next, uh, this is JSON object. This is object, and this is array. Okay, so next, missing codes for strings. So this is JSON object. In this first key value pair, so integer number is there. So for number, it is fine. So it is recommended not to provide double quotes. But here this value is string value. Since you missed double quote, then it will consider as corrupted record. So it will pass here under this column. Next, single quotes instead of double quotes. So here always JSON requires double quotes. So already we mentioned that the key values here, the keys and string values always should be double quotes, not single quotes. So same thing here. This is key. So this key always should be with a double quote. And here also this key always should be with a double quote. And at the same time, value, this string value also always should be with double quotes. So if you mention with single quotes, then it will consider as corrupted record. So that means it is not following JSON standards. Next one is mixing JSON objects and arrays incorrectly. So that means first one is array, but read without multi-line true. So if we have a JSON file like this, JSON array. So JSON array means starting and ending with square bracket. And inside that we have JSON objects. What is Spark issue is all rows become null. So what is when it will happen? If you mention while reading JSON file, if you don't pass this one, if you don't pass multi-line equal to true, so all rows become null. So what is the fix is whenever you have a multi-line like this inside array, if you have JSON objects like this, then fix is to mention this one option multi-line as true. Okay, so next one JSON object per file versus one per line. So here multiple JSON objects without new line. So this is one JSON object and continuously we have one more JSON object. So how Spark construct is, if you pass like this, it will throw under this column. So that is under this column, it will throw. Why? Because this is not valid JSON format. What is correct format is whenever you define JSON objects, you have to define like this, one by one. When you are defining only JSON objects. So when this format comes is when you have single line JSON file. So if I show you single line JSON files, so all our single line JSON files, if I show you simple one. Okay, so this is the example. So this is one JSON object. It is in single line, and second JSON object, it is in single line. Suppose if I created JSON file, suppose this JSON object is here, and suppose this JSON object, if I created continuously in single line, then that it considered as corrupted record. So the correct format is like this. So correct format is like this. One JSON object per line. So line by line, it should be there. So next, inconsistent schema across files. So suppose file one, I have this JSON object. This key value pair is this one. So ID, that is one integer, and second key is price, and value is 100. And in second file, uh, here ID is there, key is ID, and suppose if you mention string, so here integer is there, so here string is there. So that means the data type mismatch. At the same time, here 100 is there, that is number, but here string is there. So data type mismatch. So what Spark does is it will give you null values. So why? Because so mismatch of data types. What is the fix is? So provide the schema spark.read dot schema. Schema means you explicitly define the schema. So like, so how we define explicitly schema here. So similar way, we need to define the schema. Okay, next, comments in JSON. So this I already showed you one example, like these comments are not allowed. So it will fail to parse. So which file? So this file, we have comments. So this one. So it is not allowed like this. So next, special characters not escaped. Special characters not escaped. So that means if you see here text, so this is key, text is the key, and value. So if you see the value, so starting and ending, it is a double quoted. Hello is there. After hello, one more string is double quoted. So this is not allowed. So if you want like this, then your format should be like this: backslash, double quote, then backslash, double quote. So this valid formats, if you see at our initial file, it is defined. See here these things. So JSON strings can contain the following backslash escaped characters. So here, see here. So whenever you have inside double quotes, you have to use this one, backslash, double quote. So this is the example. Here it is used, backslash. Okay, so these are all the JSON rules need to follow while creating the JSON objects. If you're not following, then it will come like this. It will dump under corrupted record. So next final one is cheat sheet. So what is the JSON cheat sheet is final. So if your value, JSON value is object, so that means syntax is this one. So starting and ending with curly braces. So inside that key value pair. So for example, here key is the name and it should be double quoted, and value is, since it is string, it is double quoted. If it is value, then if it is number, then simply mention number, or boolean means you simply mention boolean. So array means the syntax is starting and ending with square bracket and value. All the values, one by one values we have to mention. Suppose like 8443, or otherwise simply values, string values, or only boolean values. So if it is string means the syntax is like this, double quote text like this one. And if it is number means either it is integer or double type. Boolean means either true or false. So null means we have to define, we have to mention like null. So nested JSON means, so this is JSON object. So here key is there, the value, whatever value here it is there, that is object. So that is object. So that will call as nested object. If our value is object, then we'll call as nested object. If our value is array, then we'll call as nested array. So example, so first this is key and our value, since our value is object, and inside this object we can pass either single key value pair or multiple key value pairs. And similar way for array also, inside array we can pass as many values, either integers, strings, booleans, float values. Okay, so next, parse. So JSON dot parse string. If you if you pass any string here, so JSON dot parse, and inside that string. So string means this is JSON object. So JSON object with single quotes. So stringify. So JSON dot stringify. So inside that we need to pass the object. So here how we passed string is, first we define the single quotes, and after that we define the JSON object. And here we define JSON object. So next, JSON files with arrays. So arrays can be either single line or multi-line. So JSON arrays means starting and ending is square brackets. And inside that we have JSON object. So this is one JSON object and this is one JSON object. So each JSON object, it is separated by comma. And in first JSON object, I have two key value pairs. And so what is, if you have a JSON file like this, then what is the correct way of reading is for.read dot option multi-line equal to true. So why it is multi-line is true, each JSON object, it is in separate line and it is separated by comma. Okay, so next rule of thumb is always use start.json when you are referring to folder. Suppose if you have folder, suppose you have file like this. Uh, this is our root file, and in this particular file, suppose you assume that we have different formats of files. So these cases, it is always recommended to use this start.json. If you want to read JSON, start.json. If you want to read CSV, start.csv. If you want Parquet, start.parquet. If you want to read only txt, you can write start.txt. Okay, so this is rule of thumb. So when you are referring to folder, so data is generated by multiple jobs. So that means in real time, whenever you access storage account on daily basis, so that storage account will be having multiple files. So you need to refer to that root folder. First, you need to refer to this root folder. And after that, if you pass this one, either start.json or start.parquet or start.avro, what will happen? All the files inside this folder with specified format, it big at a time. So this example I already shown with different uh, topics, like suppose if you see in my PySpark basic playlist, so these many things 121 to 130. So I explained mainly on these topics. So you can refer those videos to get more idea. So finally we came to end by completing this JSON sheet. So these are the things about how to create JSON files by following JSON rules and JSON structure. So that's all about this video. If you really like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.